The dream died in the trenches. It wasn't a sudden collapse or a single bad play. It was a slow, agonizing erosion of the very foundation that once made the Philadelphia Eagles the most feared force in professional football. Imagine holding the Lombardi Trophy, standing at the absolute pinnacle of the sporting world, only to watch your identity, the hard-nosed, bully ball dominance that defined you, vaporize in the span of one calendar year. This isn't just about a down season. It is a tale of a unit that went from being the league's gold standard to an average, injury-riddled liability. How does a team go from historic, bone-crushing efficiency to barely scraping by? And is there any hope left for a return to greatness in 2026? Before we pull back the curtain on the massive changes happening in the Philadelphia locker room, make sure you're locked in and subscribed because we're tracking every twist and turn of this high-stakes comeback season. To understand the wreckage of last year, you have to look at the atmosphere. The 2024 season was a masterclass in resilience. The Eagles weren't just winning games, they were suffocating opponents. They dominated the Packers, dismantled the Commanders with a 50-point statement, and went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs in a performance that will be remembered for years. They hoisted the trophy because they had the star power and the late-game execution that champions are built upon. But then came 2025. The air in the building changed. The offensive scheme, which had once been a creative engine under previous leadership, began to feel stale. Mundane. Predictable. When the coaching staff underwent a massive shift, the team looked for a spark, but instead, they found themselves in over their heads. The transition to a new offensive coordinator was supposed to be a seamless pivot. Instead, it became a disaster. The play calling lacked the rhythm of the past, and the results on the field were immediate. But the real story wasn't just on the whiteboards. It was in the body language of the players. There was a palpable, draining energy that started to bleed.
It really dictates the defense.
You had star playmakers visibly frustrated, their shoulders slumped, their blocks non-existent. When your biggest talent starts sulking, that poison spreads like wildfire. It turned a unit that used to bully defenses into a group that looked like they were just trying to survive until the final whistle. But wait until you hear how the stats reveal exactly where the collapse hit the hardest. Because when you look at the numbers for the ground game, you aren't just looking at a bad year. You're looking at a total freefall. Think back to the 2024 season. Saquon Barkley wasn't just playing. He was rewriting the record books, setting the all-time NFL mark for combined rushing yards in a single season. The offensive line was the engine room of that machine. They weren't just blocking. They were imposing their will, taking the soul out of every defensive front they faced. By 2025, that dominance had vanished. The run game didn't just stumble, it plummeted off a cliff. Efficiency vanished. The yards before contact, that beautiful metric that usually tells a story of a dominant line, evaporated. It didn't matter if they hit the 1,000-yard mark. The consistency that defined their championship DNA was gone. They went from being the team no one wanted to play to the team no one feared. The offensive line, the proud, elite wall that had protected the franchise, became brittle. They were injured, they were slow, and they were getting pushed around like amateurs. And for a quarterback like Jalen Hurts, the situation was borderline impossible. Consider the mental toll. 11 different play callers in 11 years of playing football. From his college days to the revolving door of coordinators. Peterson, Steichen, Johnson, Moore, Patchelo. How is any signal caller supposed to master a scheme when the language of the offense is constantly being rewritten? The scheme became vanilla, and the team became predictable. And when the offensive line is getting bulldozed, a quarterback doesn't stand a chance. It's the perfect recipe for a total offensive breakdown. But there is one specific heated debate happening among analysts right now that you need to weigh in on. Who do you think is really to blame for this sudden downfall? Is it the coaching, the health issues, or a fundamental shift in team culture? Drop your take in the comments below. The most common answer might surprise you. We have to look at the hard truth of the data. When a league's highest paid offensive unit produces such mediocre results, ranking 19th in points per game and 24th in total yards, questions have to be asked. The eye test was even more damning than the spreadsheets. Jordan Mailata, once nearly perfect, saw his performance dip. Landon Dickerson, a player who built his reputation on being an absolute bully at the guard position, was getting tossed around like a rag doll. Cam Jurgens was spending far too much time on the ground. Even the legendary offensive line coach Jeff Stoutland, a man who is basically an institution in Philadelphia, was stripped of his run game coordinator duties during the season. That was the clearest signal possible that the organization knew the ship was sinking. Yet there's a massive shift happening for 2026, a glimmer of hope, or perhaps a dangerous gamble that could redefine the entire season. While the experts are still reeling from last year, some are already predicting a massive rebound. Warren Sharp, one of the most respected analysts in the game, actually has the Eagles' offensive line ranked as the second-best unit in the entire NFL heading into this season. That might sound crazy considering the disaster 2025, but the logic is simple: injury luck. When you look at the projected roster, the pedigree is still there. If Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, and Lane Johnson can actually stay on the field, the ceiling for this group is still incredibly high. And Lane Johnson has been vocal about a change that might finally give him the support he has been craving for years. He's talked about shifting into a three-point stance more often and finally having some assistance in a scheme that he believes will be much friendlier to the offensive line. They are moving away from the island style of play that left him exposed and moving toward a system that prioritizes structural help. But the biggest story is the health overhaul. Cam Jurgens took his recovery to a new level this offseason, seeking stem cell treatments and dedicating himself to a full, uninterrupted rehab. Landon Dickerson, who has been battling through injuries since his college days, is taking similar steps to ensure he isn't just playing, but thriving. There's a sense that the front office is betting on these veterans to rediscover their health. If they do, this offense doesn't just improve, it becomes a juggernaut again. There's a philosophy that has guided this organization since the turn of the century: build from the trenches out. They don't just want size, they want dogs. They want the kind of players who can grind out a win in the rain, the snow, or a high-scoring shootout. The move toward a more modern, zone-based scheme might favor smaller, more agile linemen, but the core identity of this team remains built on a foundation of sheer physical force. They believe that if you can win the battle at the line of scrimmage, you can win in any format. If the offensive line returns to their elite form, the entire offense will follow. Jalen Hurts will have time to breathe. The run game will regain its rhythm. The predictability that plagued them last year will be replaced by the explosive, versatile attack that won them a championship. But if the injuries return, if the line continues to look like a shell of its former self, we are looking at another long, grueling season defined by tight, low-scoring games where every point is a struggle. The stakes for 2026 couldn't be higher. It's a make-or-break year. The pieces are in place, the scheme is being refined, and the players are supposedly healthier than they have been in years. The question isn't whether they have the talent. The question is whether they have the heart to reclaim their throne. We are watching a pivotal moment in the history of this franchise. Will this be the year the wall stands tall again, or will the cracks in the foundation finally break the team apart? The season is almost upon us, and every snap from here on out will be a test. Stick with us as we keep a close eye on the trenches, because as goes the line, so go the Eagles.